Good evening, everybody. All right. I've been getting not a lot of feedback, but a lot of questions of people being able to identify good chart patterns, but they aren't confident enough to pull the trigger, or they want to see more confirmation. They're usually getting in too late. So I'm going to kind of backtrack a little bit here for the next couple of weeks, so that we're not only identifying the signals and patterns, but we're also going into a little bit deeper onto what the psychology or what the investor sentiment was that created those signals or patterns. And the reason for that is, if you understand, or if you can recognize a reversal signal, and you understand how that signal was created by investor sentiment, now you're not sitting around questioning what to do. You know what's happening, and now you're going to be acting more as a proactive trader than a reactive or behind the times. So, as we saw today, and again, Raymond, this will be kind of directed toward you, that today they took the Dow up most of the day. I say most of the day. But what was our analysis of the overall trend? We were still in a downtrend. So if we're in a downtrend, and here's, I guess, one of the most important aspects of the T-line that you should hopefully gain a lot of confidence from. And just that statistical probability that if you don't see a buy signal and a close above the T-line, then the uptrend hasn't started. So that even makes, when you're trading positive like this on a day where it kind of opened here and traded higher, what should your assumption be? We need to wait to see where they're going to close this market. Why? Because the assumption already is we're in a downtrend and we haven't closed above the T-line. And just because it's trading positive on a given day doesn't mean there's been a change of investor sentiment. Now, we've got other aspects that we can look at that tell us there's probably not a major change of investor sentiment. The NASDAQ opened lower. You can see that it's well below the T-line. It traded up some, but it wasn't very confident. Should our combination analysis be? One, even though the Dow was trading positive, the NASDAQ wasn't doing anything of great relevance. And what do we know about the trend of the NASDAQ? Obviously, it's trading lower and it's not gotten back up above the T-line. So I'm saying this not to, or I'm saying this more because through the years I've discovered if I just watched to see what the investor sentiment is and what the overall psychology is of the market, that if we're in a downtrend, we're below the T-line, stochastics heading down, that even when you see a positive trading day, you don't need to jump the gun. And my term for jumping the gun is if you're in short positions, you shouldn't get ready to bail out just because you see during the day that things are trading positive. And I always emphasize the point that way back when I was SOS trading, which was in 1999, 2000, 2001, we'd have a good short position on, and then all of a sudden it would start trading positive. And I had a buddy that was a subscriber to the Pristine Trading. I forget what's his name, Velez. And they would always point out that if it comes back up through this level, you want to start buying. Well, there'd be days where there was a downtrend, and all of a sudden it would start trading positive, and it would move up strong. And I'm thinking, what the heck? All my profits being short for the last 3 days have just disappeared in one day. Get me out of this trade. Well, then I discovered that as soon as all that buying stopped, the thing sold right back off, traded back down, and continued its downtrend for the next few days, which was what we expected the trend to do in the first place. So I've learned that if you see something trading positive and it's going in the opposite direction of what it should be, you don't do anything until it proves that it's going to close in the opposite direction of what it should be. What are the red and blue bars? What are the red and blue bars? What are the red and blue bars? I've got red and green, and I'm colorblind. These are the stochastics. And your stochastics are not in the oversold area, they're still heading down. So if you put just common sense analysis, the red and green, are you getting blue? I don't know why. Yeah. It should be red and green. It might have to reload to get a better color coming in. So the reason I point this out is you got the blue 50-day moving average and the red 200-day simple moving average. All right, so the reason I point this out is there's been many times in my past where I see them trading positive, and I'm thinking, oh man, is this where they finally turned it and I didn't react fast enough? I would say 90 to 90% of the time, if I just waited, the trend was going to continue in the direction of what we expected it to be moving, or in the direction. All right, John, that's why I'm trying to alleviate that, because I did it probably many, many more times than you ever have done it. That I saw, oh, the buying was coming to this position, and I hate to say this, I even did it today. This is do as I say, not as I do. I've been in the puts of Borg Warner, but it was trading up here today, and it was a nice big green candle. I'm thinking, oh man, got green candles. I know it hasn't closed above the T-line, but this looks like it's got too much strength down here, so I closed them out. I made a profit on the trade, but not as good a profit as I should have. And then look what it did by the end of the day. It was back down to where it was down a penny on the day. So this is to also illustrate, which it did to myself once again, that if it's trading up here, it's already up there. Why not just wait to the end of the day to see if it's going to stay there? If it finishes up there at the end of the day, all right, you close it out. And so I've learned in the past that if I just wait and see what the overall trend is going to do based upon all the factors that we already know, that as long as you're below the T-line and don't see a buy signal, you can stay short. So we're still seeing a lot of obviously negative trend. Let me do that. So what's our assumption? Our assumption is this trend is still heading down. We're still trading below the T-line. Stochastics are still heading down. So we've got to assume we just want to stay short. So let's take a look at some of the positions we've recommended recently. And the reason I'm doing this, just a reminder that I'm going to be on at 10 o'clock over in the Metastock presentation. So everybody should have gotten that where you can sign up so that even if you don't want to sit and watch it during the day, you can get sent a recording of it. I guess they've got myself first and then about 5 other traders showing their techniques. So keep an eye out, or go ahead, even if you don't want to watch it while it's live, at least you can get the recordings of it. All right, so here's what we're going to delve into much more thoroughly. And again, this is going to be part of the 2-week or 2-day training in 2 weeks from now, on the 26th and 27th. And the reason those trainings are very beneficial is that you're seeing everything in a chronological order. You're seeing it all at one time. And it kind of solidifies your learning ability to say, oh, I can see everything happening. I understand now why it's happening, and I understand what the psychology was that created all this. At least now I don't have to wait for somebody to tell me what to do. I don't have to wait to see confirmation, a full confirmation that I can be trading it based upon knowing what's happening. So I've been using this chart as an illustration of, look what is happening on this chart. First, we got the alert. Now, if you cut the chart off right here, what does that pretty much tell you? Something new has happened down here, and they're wanting to get back into this. Now, before that happened, I had no idea, didn't know which industry it was in. But then we'd use the rare process and say, oh, let's go look and see what the news was. News was they've developed a solid-state lithium battery, just like QuantumScape, that they think they're getting some good progress on. So if you bought it on that day, you closed it. Whoops. This whole part of my screen is dead. I can't do anything. I'm just going to have to get a new computer screen. So what happened since that time? That's our alert. Didn't necessarily work. However, it's still an alert. Pulls back, there's our bullish engulfing signal. All right, they're doing some buying up above the T-line. Another bullish engulfing signal. Now when you start adding all this together, what do you got going on? You've got buyers starting to come back in here. And now it popped up nicely today. I don't know where it is after hours, but what is our reasonable assessment at this point? If they open this positive, looking for a bullish doji sandwich, means they're going to get pretty close to the 50-day moving average. So that all is added together. Darn, I had what was the other one that I did? Is it this one? Yes. So what's happening here? An alert that tells us there's a drastic change of investor sentiment. That's obvious. Now, it wouldn't have been obvious if we weren't following candlestick charts to say, well, they've gapped this up. Now they're trading positive. There's a lot of bullish sentiment. Let's see what this company does. See if there's any. Is that news relevant enough to say, all right, now we're in an uptrend? So this is where not only identifying the signals is important, number one, but number two, it allows us to see if there's been a change of sentiment, a change of psychology. What's the psychology of the buyers at this point? They found a new line, and it's being illustrated by the fact that this whole signal is setting up. So going back to this one, there's now a change of direction. Well, this is not working well tonight. But we can see there's been a change, and that's what basically we're what we're looking for are the trend reversals, and then being able to identify the continued change of that investor sentiment. So there's going to be, crying out loud, Dave does not come up over on this chart. I don't know why. But Dave was a good inverted hammer signal. And this is another strong point that we're going to go through on our 2-day training for those that you are new. If we can identify in order, not in order, but chronologically, the signals that show us that we have high probabilities of reversals. Again, that's the 12 major signals out of your 50 or 60 signals. And the patterns that reoccur in human nature. And then the combinations of those signals and patterns, which we call the top rank signals and patterns. Now we're at least visually recognizing when there's a change of investor sentiment. We can add the confirmation of being in profitable trades by knowing what to do on the correct entry strategy. Let's say, for example, yep, I got it here. If we see a candlestick signal, what do we want to see? We want to say positive confirmation. Today we recommended VRT. Does this look like a nice setup? There's your best. There's your close above the T line. If this started trading positive, we could be buying this because that told us we got a lot of running room that if they got up to this level, at least we're profitable. If they broke through this level, got a lot of empty space up here that it could fill very quickly. But what kept us out of this trade? The fact that there wasn't follow-through buying. So this is an important illustration to say even if we see strong buying, before we buy, we need to. We'd rather be buying into that confirmation, and seeing what the next price move is tells us whether we should be getting into that trade or not. So we would do a lot of 2+2 analysis. And 2+2 analysis is nothing more than the more pieces of evidence that we can put into our evaluation, and our evaluation is just one instantaneous glance. Look at this chart. I can see instantly what's happening. First of all, we've had a buying down here. Not quite a bullish harami, but we have a piercing signal, close above the T line, scoop type pattern, close above the T line, confirmation. And now it gets back up to where we would you have waited to get in? It opened and traded up before going down. On which one? And this one. On this one, Cindy? Oh, yes. So, yeah, if it opened lower here and came back here, I'm not sure where do I, on the previous one? Darn, I can't even remember which one. On this one, we know we've got, on VRT, would you have waited to get in? It opened and traded up before going down. I probably would have, given it a little bit more time. Let me go back to it. On this one, would I have bought on this day? Not here. Then it came back here. Where would I have been buying? Right here, yes. ASIX is a bobble breakout. So if we're looking at this, if we first had bought here, we would have closed here. What did it do? In the overbought area, it failed at the 50. What's our next piece of evidence? They aren't closing it below the T line, and now they came back up through the 50. What do we see? There really isn't a scan. Jim, is there a scan for that? But you don't need a scan for that, because this one wasn't found based upon a scan for a bobble breakout. This one was found based upon, one, if we were in this position and it pulled back and we'd closed out, and now we could see that it's a bobble breakout, or two, we did our was which stocks had the biggest percent price move today. Well, that one would have showed up somewhere. And when if I saw this, say, oh, that was a big price move and there's a bobble breakout, now I know what my strategy is the next day. I want to be buying this one on positive trading. Now, another relevant factor on strong signals versus bottom right-hand corner of the page, see if there's a bobble breakout formula in there. So what is the next relevant factor of this chart? Because we can recognize a strong pattern, look what it did today on a day when the markets were selling off. Now there's going to be quite a few, and that's why I wish I had Dave on here. I guess I could pull it. Nah, I'm not. Dave, if you look at that chart, you can see the inverted hammer of about 3 or 4 days ago, and since then it's just been in an upward trend. And that's why going through the 12 major signals step by step with a full analysis, you start mentally or visually recognizing things that you should be paying attention to. And again, if you learn the 12 major signals, that's your ABCs. And if you understand what the results are of those, now you've got a much more firm grasp of what you should be looking at. I'm going to backtrack here because Doug, I saw your question earlier. Is it too late to short the S&P? Whoops, I don't know what happened there. Remember what our criteria would have been? When they opened it up and they took it up, where was the place to, if you were going to go short? Because what was the assumption The overall assumption was we were in this downtrend. And as long as they didn't close up above the T-line, and as long as they were trading positive, that became a nothing chart. Yeah, the Dave is on the TC2000. It just doesn't come up over here on CQG for some reason. I don't know if I could pull it up. Probably could. I don't know if I'm still on screen here, but you can see the inverted hammer right here on Dave. This is one of the high probability trades. This is what we'll be going through in detail on next Saturday, not this coming Saturday. The inverted hammer. If I see the inverted hammer, no matter how dismal a chart looks, you see an inverted hammer and it confirms the next day, that's a 90 or even a 95% probability or greater that you're going to be in an uptrend. Raymond? Let me go back to so as soon as this came back down through yesterday's or Friday's close, after failing up here, what was the whole trend telling us? They weren't taking it up, they were still taking it down. So yes, and you probably could still be adding to this if it opens lower tomorrow. I don't know right now where I think everything's just kind of trading flat. If the Dow's up a little bit, but you can see what's happening on the futures, which also kind of illustrates the Dow still in this downtrend. Didn't work for Google. Yes, I should qualify that by saying, well, but it did work. You're right. Didn't work. But this is where you want to get confirmation on, that looks like a very strong signal, but it didn't confirm the next day, and then it closed back below the T-line. This is now your next assessment that, yeah, they're still selling it off. So a signal is a signal is a signal if it confirms. Now again, it wasn't in the oversold area, but it was basically in this area. But again, you want to have everything in alignment. You weren't in the oversold area. It could have told us we were up, but as soon as it closed back here, you would have closed it out. I'll find some more here as we go along. So this is what we're going to show as the probability factor. When you see a kicker signal, that's usually going to create a very strong price move, our HZNP. And how long do you stay long on a signal? There's your kicker signal. Now, what is this telling you? Remember, kicker signal tells you got an uptrend going. Does that uptrend mean it's going to go on forever? No, you wait until you see the next sell signal and close below the T-line. If I was long this one, it would have been closed out today. So if I had bought in here and sold in here, it wasn't a big profit. but the more I can keep my correct trade ratio, and the bigger I can keep my correct trade ratio, the bigger the compounding effect will be. Anytime I've got a strong buy signal, it's only good until you see a sell signal that counters it. So SPWR, there's your bobble breakout. How long did it work? Until you saw a bearish engulfing signal confirmed. Should have been out of this trade today. Same thing with Maxon. Should have been out of this trade today. Same thing with, oh, we just did this one. Should have been out of this trade today. So just remember, the signals are telling you when the bulls are taking control. They're also telling you when the bears are taking control. That's what you want to be reading into these charts. This, well, for crying out loud. Good signal. Well, what do we have for a basic rule for closing out a position? If you're up in the overbought area, you're that far away from the T-line, where should you be out of a trade? If it comes back down through the previous day's open, where do you think the next target's going to be? The T-line. Well, you could be buying back in here. Where should it not trade? Back below the T-line. These are just kind of basic rules for the old adage, you always want to cut your losses short, let your profits run. And nobody ever tells you how to cut your losses short, let your profits run. Just use some very simple rules. I guess we will use, darn, I was supposed to do a stop loss session. I got to write that back down. There's a lot of things that tell you when to be out of a position just based upon where the trading is occurring on a candlestick chart. Okay, so the obvious is that we're in a downtrend. That makes these type of charts that much more compelling. There's your bearish kicker signal. There's been times where I got a little bit nervous about being short on this one. But even on a bad hair day of being in the wrong direction, I still give it that last criteria. Would you have waited until the end of the day on these? John, on some of those where we're selling off, maybe not to the end of the day, but if it was trading, well, more than likely, I would have been out of this one somewhere in this range. Because what was that telling you? They weren't taking it up. They were probably at least coming back down to test the T-line. Now, did I know if it hit the T-line and bounced back up? Didn't know that. But I knew they were probably going to the T-line, so why not close it out and then see what happens? If they hit the T-line and started bouncing back up, I could always buy back knowing they're still keeping in this direction. So there's not what I would call subjectivity, but there are things where you kind of anticipate that if you're in the overbought area and you've moved that far away from the T-line and they open it lower after a sell signal, more than likely they're going to come back to the T-line. That puts us into the category, what are our probabilities? Our probability is seeing a sell signal in the overbought area and you start seeing some weakness. Yeah, there's probably better places to go find to put your money. Monday. That's not what we want. Whoops, because that's not Monday. Hit the wrong signal. gap down, close below the T-line. Even if you didn't hit this trade, you knew if you did hit this trade, you knew where to cover. On a bullish engulfing signal after an inverted hammer in the oversold they were heading to. This is where your anticipation, or this is where the logic comes in. We expect it to bounce back up to the T-line. They're still trying to go, whoops, let's do it this way. Still heading up, maybe trying to go through. That was the nail in the coffin. They aren't going through. Now what type of pattern do we have at this point? Maybe a bearish J-hook pattern. A little bit doubtful. But what was the final criteria on this? You're in a downtrend. Would this be a short? And because of over, probably not, because what do we have to contend with? They came up through a resistance level. What are they probably coming back to do? Test it to see if it's going to act as support. Is that worth putting money in right here at just above a support level? Probably not. There's probably better places to have your money where there's nothing showing any resistance during the reversal. Net. This is why you want to know your signals. This is why you want to know your T-line rule. What's this whole chart tell us? Up here where you had a shooting star, hanging man confirmed with a close below the T-line, what did it tell us about this level right here? They weren't going through this level. That's a double top. Even if you didn't short it, you could be shorting it here, which we recommended, was it today? Because now what? Wave 1, wave 2, going into wave 3. What does wave 3 tell us? Well, if it's this magnitude, we're coming down through this level, obviously, and likely coming down through this level. Which means we might be looking at something like this. Wave 1, wave 2, wave 3 could be substantial to the downside. Now, I say could be. If this looked like it could, there was something here a little stronger as support, and there was something else that would act as support, maybe it wouldn't be that attractive. But the fact that if they broke through this level, we could see wave 3, that's given us a lot more impetus to say, all right, they're selling this thing off, and they're selling it off hard. There's still a lot of downside in this one. High probabilities. What we're looking for are the things that tell us they're strong sellers. That was a big, let's do this. Wave 1, wave 2, wave 3 seems to be in progress. Why is that? Look at our little bearish J-hook pattern. And what was the strength of the selling? First of all, when they hit the 200, they did a bullish or bearish flutter kicker. Whoop, they bounced right back up to the 200 and did a bearish. You add all that together, just logic says who's winning the battle here? The bears are, because we're already in a big downtrend. They came up and hit the first major resistance levels and then kicked it to the downside. How long do we stay short on this one? Until we see a buy signal in the oversold area. CCRN, bearish Harami right here at the 50, closed below the T-line. Is that relevant? Pretty much. Look where they started selling off before, right at the same level. Now they've got more, confidence that the bears are in control, because they did it right smack dab at the 50-day moving average. What do we do with this one? You just stay short. It might also be doing a wave 1, wave 2, going into wave 3. Now, just because it is doing that prospect doesn't mean it's going to, but we're at probabilities that are moving in that direction, and the ones that we want to find are the ones that have the biggest potential in that direction. So Guild, wave 1, wave 2, wave 3. Wave 1, wave 2, wave 3. What's the overall projection on this chart? Obviously down. CFLT. There's your bearish best friend. There's your wave 1, wave 2, wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 1, wave 2. Downward trajectory still in progress. Now, will all these work? Probably not, but a good percentage of them will, just based upon recognizing what type of patterns we're looking at. Wave 1, wave 2, where did this one fail? Right smack dab at a level that everybody else was watching. And now, if this one opens lower tomorrow, you could still be shorting it, because what type of signal would you have? You'd have a bearish kicker signal, a bearish doji sandwich, that if this day and this day are the same, that's pretty much telling you this level is not going to act as support. Now you can pretty much calculate wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, starting right at a level everybody else is watching. So there's going to be lots of bearish trades. What we're trying to do is find the trades that have the biggest potential downside and the highest probabilities that they're going to work based upon what everybody else is watching. In that case, it failed at the 50. In this case, Snap failed at the 50, which pretty much tells us what the overall trend is doing. Whoops. Pretty obvious. We're in a downtrend. They came up, failed. Where's your first likely target? Right here. Then if they break that level, where's your next target? Somewhere down further. They're selling this one off. That's on Snap. Rocket. Sell off. There's a bearish kicker signal right back through the 50. Nothing yet to show you there's any buyers stepping into this one. And NTRA had a hard time buying the puts on this one because the volume on the puts wasn't very big. But look what we have here. Wave 1, wave 2, a dumpling top. And what do we expect as far as the force of a dumpling top? That big breakdown. That tells you there's going to be a lot more downside. That's what we expect coming to the downside on a dumpling top, just like on a fry pan bottom. That's not it. I thought I was going to segue right into, well, for crying out loud. Well, that one's not coming up over here. That's just a fine howdy-do. What do we want to see coming out of a fry pan bottom? Big price moves. That tells you the enthusiasm's coming back into that pattern, and that's our confirmation. We're going much higher. So, whoops, I was on this one. So if we see that, and especially if we see this, where they crater it, they bring it back up, but then they fail, the first likely target is going to be back to test that low. I must be... Well, what's happening here? For some reason, we're not getting... Huh. Let me do this. Okay. That's working, so why... It's just not coming up. All right. It's definitely taking a nap. A blow-off day is just that big reversal day, and it usually has big volume. So it could be a blow-off day to the bottom. Maybe that's it. Is it a nab? No. No, here, let's do this. Yeah, see, it comes up over here. See what happened here this big day? If they open this one lower, you can kind of anticipate your next target is back down to the low. I don't know why they come up on one system and they don't come up on another. All right, the biggies. Tesla. Observe the obvious. There's a downtrend. They haven't been able to get up above the T-line. This one could still be shorted if it opens weaker tomorrow. Amazon couldn't get back up through this downtrending resistance level. There was your bearish engulfing back below the T-line. What's your assumption? You're still in a downtrend. And Apple couldn't hold the 200. Nvidia, still in a downtrend. And Netflix, this is where the T-line would have saved your bacon a few times. If you were short, they could never really close it back up above the T-line. Still drifting a lot lower. So here's the bullish charts. ASO gapped up today. Is that a kicker signal? Oh, darn. Yes, there's a bullish kicker signal. Where's your first target? Right here. Not very big, but at least putting you in the right direction based upon that bullish signal. SIG. OPRT, a little kicker type signal. So what do we have for confirmation? If they open this positive, what's it telling you? One, the T-line's not acting as resistance anymore. Two, the kicker signal's confirming. That's giving you pretty good evidence they're bringing it back up. and probably back up into this range, the 50-day moving average. VG, have you not been around long enough to know that you're supposed to hold your individual requests until I tell Jim to do the double line? For kicker signals, should we wait for it to break the downtrend before jumping in? You don't have to. Remember, the strength of a kicker signal, it doesn't matter where it's occurring. Whether you're overbought or oversold area or in between, the reversal on a kicker signal is so strong, stochastics or trend lines or resistance levels have nothing to do with has nothing to do with where you are in the trend. And NSP would kind of put this in a little classification of a trend kicker signal, double bottom. That implies there's some good upside. I've got to take handwriting lessons again. Another trend kicker signal. Fry pan bottom on Cincinnati Financial, implying there's more upside. There's a fry pan bottom type breakout on MATX. And how did the fry pan bottom breakout occur? With a gap up. That usually implies wave 1, wave 2, wave 3 could go much higher. And I'm not going to even try BHIL again, because that's just not working. Travelers, not a very exciting stock. But you can see how this fry pan bottom is breaking out. There's your doji sandwich up above this level. That implies there's going to be some more good upside. We did this one, CLSD, because this has told you there's something new happening. This is where you use your rare process, research analysis, reverse engineering, see what the news was that created this move, and see if it's got some news strong enough to substantiate more upside potential. And there's your bobble breakout on Change Healthcare, CHNG. Make this a little bit smaller. And look where the bobble breakout is occurring. Right all in this level, which would be considered a resistance level. This one could have another good strong price move. Again, everything we look at on a candlestick chart is merely adding up everything that tells us we got high probabilities we're moving in the right direction. I have no idea. Oh, I know why this one. This one, I think, after hours must have closed up here. Let's go check on that. Yes, so after hours, they must have announced something. Oops, it's just kind of gapped up. This one, INMB, on a positive open tomorrow. And Luna, there's your best friend breakout. Not only did they break out through this level with the best friend, they broke out through the 50, which everybody else is watching. Where do you think the next likely target's going to be? Up here. So this is one I would have on my watch list, and I'd be trading it off the 10-minute chart on positive trading tomorrow. This one actually showed that it closed right here, but it's still in a position where you've got your fry pan bottom, classic pattern, bobble breakout, that if they open this one positive, especially trading, let me do this once more. But they must have sold it off a little bit. Let's see what it was. Yeah, so it was trading up there right at the breakout level. So keep an eye on this one. If they get this up through the 200 tomorrow, there's your classic pattern working. So when you see something like this, no. No. When you see something like that, and they've really broken it down, obviously there's a major change of investor sentiment. When you see something like that, where they've broken it down, there's been a major change of investor sentiment. That could be gold today. Trading off, let's see. And it looks like gold was trading slightly lower than silver, trading lower. So that would imply that gold stocks are, whoops. Yeah, the gold stocks are trading off. Okay, thank you, Bob. Okay, so we will probably be recommending, we bought some puts on Snap today because of the bearish J-hook pattern coming out of a classic or a dumpling top, failure at the 50. But if they break through, if they trade lower and break through this level, got a lot more downside. Tech, geez, I haven't hit the right symbols here all night long. Tech, another one. That bearish best friend, failure at the top. You can see you had kind of a trend channel up here. They could be bringing this one back down to the 50-day moving average. SE, another one where you can see the trend and the failure at the T-line. They're still taking this one lower. And MAG is one of the silver stocks. You can see the doji gap down, gap down. I would suspect they're at least heading for the 50-day moving average. I don't know why I have this one over here. We were looking at ATGE earlier. I'm going to skip it since I don't know what. BTU. Once again, the further away you move from the T-line, you put your safety stop right there. Now, it looks like they could probably bring it back down to the 50-day moving average. Yeah, I can't remember why, Pat, why we were looking at that. You had, let me do ATGE. Yeah, I don't know what was happening there. For some reason, Your chart and my chart were different. Can I talk about silver? What do you want to talk about? Silver looks like after the big bearish candle, that's not a reversal signal, but it's strong enough to say, yep, they're in a downtrend. I don't know which one's that is the signal. That's kind of your bearish engulfing. So I would suspect this is where could this move back to? Maybe here, maybe here, maybe here. Where else? This is where I don't use the Fibonacci numbers, but I'll put the Fibonacci numbers on here just to see what everybody else is watching. You can see today it closed right on the 38% retracement. The 50% retracement might be at the 34. And by the time it gets down here, it might be that the 62% retracement is right at the 50. So you can throw anything on here, not that it's going to go to one of these targets. Well, you want to see if something happens, if a buy signal occurs at one of these levels, that's where everybody is buying. I was asking about buying. Oh, you were asking about buying AT. Is this what the chart looked like? Oh. Boy. All right. I probably wouldn't be buying this one with you being that close to the 50 in the overbought area. I'd watch to see what it does here at the 50 since you're that close already. Now where, if you look back at this chart, can you get a little bit more confidence where you should have been buying? Probably on this day where they did a doji gap up. Do a put spread on Snap. That's up to each individual. Now we're pretty close to the expiration for March. There's only like 3 days left. So you could, on any of these that are selling off. Now, I say you could put spreads on. I think I looked to do a spread on net, but there wasn't enough volume. Remember, the mechanics of a spread is that your traders have to have the ability to buy and sell the two levels at the same time. And if the volume is very low on one side or both sides, the probabilities of having trades available on one side or the other or both may be very small. So unfortunately, the spreads work much better, or they do work much better when you've got stocks that have a big volume in the options, both on the put and the call side. So here's one that has broken out down through kind of through this level. That kind of implies a wave 1, wave 2, going into wave 3. And COMP, kind of the same scenario. Make this smaller. Made it too small. But they failed here at the 50, which tells you you're still in a downtrend. This could have another good punch to the downside. And one more, just to, because there are dozens of these. DoorDash, kind of breaking through this support area with a J-hook type setup, this could have a lot more downside. Now remember, we expect a lot more downside, that if you're trading down, trading down, trading down, trading down, finally what happens to investor sentiment? They said, just get me out of this. I can't stand the pain anymore. And that's where your big downside moves occur. Okay, I think that's about all I got for tonight. This is these are market trends where you just want to go with the obvious. That as long as you're in a downtrend and they aren't taking it back up or closing above the T-line, it's telling you exactly what's happening. The bears are in control. You just stay predominantly short. Okay, are there any general questions on candlesticks? Just still want to remind everybody, if you find the link, tomorrow we'll be doing more of the psychology information with Metastock. Then tomorrow night, we're going to do how to identify and scan for the power trades, and I'll probably do a little bit of scanning techniques in that also. Even the Dow has closed today near the top above the T-line. It still would not have formed a buy signal, correct. It would have been an up day in a downtrend. So had it opened here and closed here, that's still not a buy signal. That's not a bullish Harami, not a bullish engulfing signal. So you always have to be a little bit leery of that. This was not a buy signal. It wasn't a bullish engulfing, and it wasn't a bullish Harami. It was just an up day. Walter, hang on for a few more seconds. Okay. I guess with that, Jim, go ahead and do the double line. And in 3.9 seconds, do the next double line. H&R Block. Not a very exciting trending stock. Not very exciting at all. And I probably wouldn't, you don't have a buy signal here. Again, that's an up day. That's, to me, is kind of a blasé chart. AVEO, that's a good trend kicker break out of a fry pan bottom. That one, and look where it did it, right here at the breakout level of the 50. Here's your next likely target. Dorm, nothing. I would have been out of this one if I was long yesterday. Wouldn't be back in it until it gets back up above the 50. Giving you kind of a bobble breakout situation. But right now, I would not be long or short this one. NIO, stay short. Y, stay short. Nikola, you can go short on this one. VET, this one you can get ready to short. A lot of the energy stocks have been selling off, so you could get ready to short VET. AEI. That's a fry pan bottom. Just make sure your volume on a 48-cent stock is very hefty. NVAX? No. Well, I guess you could. If it opens lower, at least you have a bearish doji sandwich, so you could short it. Might not be your strongest looking short. Bank of America? I say because you could buy this. You're just not going to get a very big percentage move. Bank of America is one of your institutional traders, and it doesn't trade very well. MYFG, not coming up. That's because I read it wrong. MUFG. That's kind of a trend kicker. You could also be buying that one. Daku. If you're short, you can stay short. I'd have a safety stop at yesterday's or Friday's high. If it comes up through there, you had indecision, and then showing some buying. Now I know the chat room showed docs today. That's a good short where you'd stay short on this one. Marna. If you're long, you can stay long. You saw it sold off. It couldn't get through this level. If it's not a very exciting looking chart, you could buy it on positive trading. Just use the T-line as your stop. And T2, stay short. Boy. You could probably still go short on this one. What did we do? Marna? No, we did that one. Halliburton was acting well for a while. It's still just above the T-line. However, it has to open positive tomorrow to stay in it. If it opens lower, you got doji, 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 doji. Stochastics rolling over. It has to trade positive. Schlumberger, you would have closed that one out today. Zim, stay long on that fry pan bottom. Crisp, that one failed right here at the 50. If I had been long for whatever reason, I'd be out of it. I don't know whether I'd be going short on that one. That's just kind of a sideways chart. We did SE. You can be shorting this one on weakness tomorrow, giving you a bearish doji sandwich, bearish J-hook pattern. Red Robin, stay long on this one. Amazon, we did. Probably want to be going short on this one, if anything. Google, you could be going short on this on weakness, especially if it breaks this level right in here. Intuit, just stay short. Hood. This one you could short on a lower open. Your bearish doji sandwich after a bearish left-right combo, still telling you your downtrend is working. Stone. I would just stay short on this one. ENVO, not coming up, Pat. Sky, another one you can short on kind of the bearish J hook, bearish J hook. Yeah, I wouldn't be afraid to go short on this one. AEM has to open positive if you're long to stay in it. If it opens lower, they're coming back to test the 200 to see if it's going to act as support. Stay short. Rite Aid. Another one you could be going short if you can. That's 8. Yeah, if it breaks this level after a bearish left-right combo, wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, probably bringing it down into this range. RKDA, nothing major here other than if you're long, you stay long as long as it stays above the T-line. ENVA. If you're thinking about buying, you want to see it open positive tomorrow. Okay, the Dow futures now have just gone negative. And it looks like the E-minis are just about flat. All right, nothing on this chart to tell you there's any strength coming in yet. You're not in the oversold area. If they break this level, I would suspect they're coming down into this range. Okay, I guess I've announced everything that I need to announce. No, Gail. Still, what is it? CYRN. I wouldn't know what to tell you there. That's kind of nothing so far. Probably wouldn't be long or short this one. Crude oil, have no idea. What are we looking at as far as crude oil? So crude oil on the June contract could be coming back here. Let's see, what is the April? So CLAJ. Looks like they're coming back to the 50, taking you down to about the $90 area. Look at your big reversal. Is there a support line on the Qs? Well, same as the NASDAQ. Probably I would look to see if this level is the next target. But right now, unless there's a big bullish signal tomorrow right at this level, I wouldn't suspect it with stochastic still heading down. Okay, everybody. Guess that's about all we got for tonight. We'll see everybody bright and early tomorrow morning. Have a good evening. We'll see you then.